Fire for your mind. Kosher clinician.
If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. Heaven and hell, that's what they told you. Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. Young heads pick it back up and young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues. Asking fathers who miss you. Mama drama don't kiss you. All a part of the ritual. This is how they get you. Separate the men, women clipping babies pretend to. Damn. Lovers, haters acting like vultures. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.
Film. Who here has heard of Andrew Tate, the demise of guys?
This new think idea that men and women are the same is complete garbage that's been invented, right?
Are you an Andrew Tate adherent? He describes it as sexual encounter, slap, grab, choke. It's how it should be.
Well, if it's consensual, it's all good.
Again, to the point where I've got to come on the Dr. Phil show and be an apologist for Andrew Tate, which I am not going to do.
Let's do it.
What the fuck? Bro. He's our biggest ick in the guy.
But you're short as shit. If his snap score is over 1 million.
What's your snap score?
1.2 million! It's different if it's a guy.
She belongs to the streets.
If he wears, like, actual flip-flops to the beach, it's disgusting.
Imagine a boy putting sheets on a bed and it, like, falling off and they have to fix it. Ick. The littlest things give me the ick.
Nothing else to talk about. She belongs to the streets. Don't ruin your mental health. Book a session if she's doing this.
It's okay to be a man.
It's not okay. It's necessary. What the hell are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up. These men, they're doing impossible things. They're under the streets, working on the sewers. They're up on the power lines in the storms and the rain. They're keeping this impossible infrastructure functioning, and often literally, and the gratitude for that is sorely lacking, especially among the people who should be most grateful, failing to understand entirely that there's a massive infrastructure of unbelievably hardworking, ungrateful, solidly laboring, working class men breaking themselves in half on a regular basis, making sure that everything that always breaks works. And so a little gratitude for that is in order. And it's very...
You'll never be a happy woman dogging your man out. He's not a man yet, but he will be. But if you keep on dogging him, you won't have nothing, and you'll end up being a lesbian at home with yourself, with no man by your side, because your damn mouth is what it is. It's a snake pit. And a man can't live under that.
Sir, this is not a good look when it comes down to being a masculine man. Book a session and take some zinc. Nothing else to talk about. She belongs to the streets. Don't ruin your mental health. Book a session if she's doing this.
Let's be honest. Trust is lost in these modern women nowadays. Even the ring does not guarantee any level of loyalty anymore. Growing up, watching my brothers get played by these run-through women has been brutal, but eye-opening. A man will invest time and energy. Meanwhile, she's on the other side, letting another man reap the benefits, and she's proud. For the most part, these loose moral women will come up with these "I need to go find myself" excuses to justify their behaviors. They play mind games and are constantly trying to
It's a hard thing to admit, but it's understandable why they would choose to go their own way. And that's what's scary, is there's actually a rational reason why they would do that.
Men going their own way. And you can think what you want about it, but this is a really big problem for women, for us, for our future, for families, for you to find a partner. If a population of good men are walking away because they're fed up with women,
if you're being told all your life that you are bad and wrong just for being a man, and that you have toxic masculinity for being a man, and that, you know, women, there's this famous expression that, you know, a woman needs a man just like a fish needs a bicycle. And that men are basically useless. And that men are terrible, and that, you know, women are superior.
In our society, it's very callous towards men. The only message most men hear in the world is that they're a bumbling buffoon. The TV shows are full of idiot men. Commercials show men as buffoons. The society is against them. All they hear about is what idiots men are.
It's the mass of women that are taking over the culture and representing women. They're loud. They're mean. They say they want equality. Why are they not protesting in the streets for the changing the laws for alimony or child support or child custody? Because they don't want equality. They want superiority.
The male gender has more of a slave state, and it's because men are now subjugated to the law and to women, and nobody really believes it, except the men who go through, say, the court. But most men think that they're exempt from that until they end up in a bad situation.
So for a lot of the men, and a lot of them have gotten screwed over in terrible relationships and divorces, and gotten their kids taken away from them. So it's an understandable response.
In the United States of America, as a man, you can't speak up. I think most women tend to be very, I'm stereotyping, but they tend to be more collectivist. They tend to sort of be more in that socialist mindset. So I don't know that you're going to see a huge change. I think the change will have to come from men.
The lives of women will not change until the men get the opportunity to also examine and define and change their lives. In many ways, I sometimes think that the 20th century was the century where the women made all these massive changes, and the 21st century will be the changes that the men will make, partly in adapting to the changes that the women have done.
And those men are doing something about it. They're saying, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not getting married, or I'm divorced. They don't sit around just trying to live their life through women. They actually have lots of hobbies. They go out, they buy that land you were talking about. They're out there getting motorcycles. They're having a good time, and they're enjoying life without having to deal with the stress of the women and the society that tells them they have to have a woman in their life.
How would you feel? I mean, you know, you're not going to feel that attracted to a woman or care to be loving towards her or romantic towards her. So this men going their own way is a reaction to that. I really think it's a rational reaction to that. Men are finally like, hey, we've given you all you want. You know, you are equal in every way, and then you're still shaming us.
Before there was the manosphere, I was. Before there was the internet, I was. I was that Sigma male crying out in the wilderness for justice and equality for those that are downtrodden and broken, those that are voiceless. I was the kosher clinician. Before I was the kosher clinician on the internet. My plight and my war cry for justice and humanity is nothing fake. But I've always been kosher. And sit back and get this kosher fun.
Hello, everyone. Is there equality in America, fact or fantasy? First of all, I would like to salute all fellow human beings and most graciously those who are beacons of light for justice and righteousness. To vocally explain the tenets of equality, fact or fantasy, I must begin with the combination of two alphabets, I and F, which spells There's no respect of person, but gives protection to all them that fear him. So therefore I ask you this profound and non-scholastic question. If there was equality in America, will I be standing here today? You decide, fact or fantasy.
This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition.
All right, guys, we're about to start in a minute. Thank you to the 8 that are tuning in, and we're going to get into it on tonight, on to this afternoon. And we're going to be talking about a topic, guys, about all the vitriol that's being associated with men, male empowerment, and also the misunderstandings associated with something called the rational male. As you guys know, Rollo Tomassi wrote a book called The Rational Male, and it was a response to some of the struggles of men. Some would deem him the godfather of the white manosphere. I would say that timing probably was for the black manosphere. And you have others like the Angry Man and Obsidian, and then O-Shape, they more or less parroted or brought forth the black manosphere. But we're going to get deep into it, guys, on tonight. We're going to get deep into it. And we're going to talk about the importance of why these shows are so important. And we're going to talk about, is it beneficial for men to go on woke channels or channels that don't benefit masculinity? Get your pens and paper ready, guys. I'm about to drop some fire for your mind on today. Let's do it. We're about to start. Thank you guys for tuning in to the 11 that are watching. And we're going to get into it, guys. Not going to be before you guys long. I've been very busy. Haven't been doing a lot of shows lately because I've been very busy as a therapist. As you know, guys know anything about being a professional. It's draining. But to say the least, why is the red pill or anything associated with masculinity met with so much vitriol? Why do some not understand the importance of what men are trying to implement? What many don't understand, guys, is this. This is not an issue that white men are going through, more or less, even though Rollo Tomassi more or less represents, some would say, or is the godfather of the white manosphere. But this is something all men are going through. And I know what I'm talking about because based on my randomized samples, I tend to see a lot of men having the same or similar talking points. But see, guys, this world is so woke now. It's so woke that men like Dr. Phil and men of the liberal elites many times will try to minimize what men are trying to say and do. And they'll take a small percentage of men and they'll let that one man be a representation of all men. And then they'll paint it under a canopy that these men are misogynistic. These men don't like women. And that's the furthest from the truth. Everything is under a spectrum. I would say most men that listen to my content or male-centered content are good guys. I don't believe that every man that listens to my content hate women. Are there some that might hate women? Sure. Are there some that need mental health issues or need mental health therapy? Yes, some do. But I think the average guy that listens to this content I think they're good guys, they're decent guys. And they're more or less trying to more or less find out or more or less get issues to the problems that they're dealing with. The red pill simply means this. It means to be aware. It means to be aware. It means to see things for what it is. And the more guys you see things for what it is, the more you see things for what it is, the less stressful you will become when it comes down to dealing with modern women in modern times. We live in a very crazy world, a world where what we thought was right now appears to be wrong. We live in a world where our men don't understand what their place is, and our women don't understand what their place is either. And because of that, it's caused a lot of issues, guys. It's caused a lot of issues in the current and the modern relationships. But we're going to get deep into it. We're going to get deep into it on today. We're going to get deep into it as we talk about, once again, the Dr. Feel-Good versus the rational male. And I use the title Dr. Feel-Good because, see, Dr. Phil placates to his wife, Robin. Dr. Feel-Good placates to Robin. Robin will tell you that she's smarter than him, or women are smarter. And so it's okay for her to use misandric talking points, but let him say the same thing. And so a lot of these woke guys do things in accordance to how their wife feel or what their wife think. They don't have an identity outside many times of their wives. And that's why a lot of times when you go on these shows, when you go on these panels, when you go on some of these platforms, it's really, guys, an effort in futility because it doesn't benefit you as a man. Some of you came to these spaces for a variety of reasons. Some of you came to these spaces because you lost your children from no fault divorce. Some of you came to these spaces because you went through abuse from your mothers. Some of you men came to these spaces because your self-esteem was broken. Some of you men came to these spaces because you kept having bad issues or bad problems with relationships over and over and over and over and over again. And now some of you guys also came to these spaces because you got tired of dealing with women here in the West and you got hip to the passport movement. And I said, guys, before in the past that needs drive behaviors. Needs drive behaviors. And when men don't get their needs met, they do things that are not consistent with what they normally wouldn't do. Do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button, share this stream if you will, please, and donate to the channel. We're going to get deep into it. But the red pill, the great awakening, many guys are waking up. They're trying to silence some guys. They're trying to more or less minimize your voice. They're trying to make it seem like what you're saying goes against the status quo or goes against the norm. And that's why, once again, guys, you got to continue to more or less do what you know that is right. You must continue to do the things you know that you need to do to get the outcomes that you want. But why do people like Dr. Phil, the woke brigade, consistently and always try to minimize the importance of men and what men are trying to do? And see, what he did, guys, he used Rollo Tomassi as a proxy, and he also used that proxy to Andrew Tate. And I don't agree with everything Andrew Tate say, but I agree with a lot of things he say. Some of the things he say is true. And what they'll do, once again, they'll take one person, one idea, and they will truncate it and say, this is what this space is about, while this space is more or less based on a spectrum. And that's a problem. And it should be a problem for you because it's not consistent with the right to self-determination. Everybody should have the right to self-determination. Everybody should have the right to live their lives on their own terms, free of distress, free of pain, free of guilt. Everyone should, man and woman. But consistent with the movie Frustrated 3 is not a problem until the black man do it, especially. And some of you men, that should be an issue because, shout out to Dr. Ron Neal, you should have black male independence and black male agency, and the agency to do what you want to do. But these are some strange times, guys. These are some strange times. The world is weird. And the more things change, the more they remain the same. So we're going to get deep into the rabbit hole, guys. Share this content, share this stream. And we're going to talk about Dr. Feelgood, because Dr. Feelgood, like so many simps, they placate to the emotions of women. Because many women do things based on how they feel instead of doing things based on what's right, what's logical, and what's practical. And while we got some emotional men that do things based on how they feel as well, you tend to see that behavior manifest mostly in our women. And that's a problem. And that shouldn't always be. Because women have the right and they have the ability to think logical. But sadly, many don't always think logical. Because anytime you say anything contrary to how they feel, then it's a problem. They don't listen to understand. They listen just to respond. And that's a problem. But shout out to all the good, noble, intelligent, brilliant sisters. They have a burning desire to hear and understand why men are beginning to do the things that they're doing. Because the Irrational Male book was a response to what men are dealing with now here in modern America. It was a response. Because men got tired of being played, and it started with white men first. But see, it goes back to what we said, guys, before in the past. The struggles that were more or less impacted towards our men and more or less made generalized, black men, we got the brunt of it, even though a lot of times we didn't have anything to do with it. And that's a problem. Because you took guys from Gen X that had nothing to do with the policies that came to oppressing our women, and they paint a whole picture, and they say that, black men oppressed us. Well, we never had power to oppress anybody. And that's a problem, guys. So get the likes up, donate to the stream. We're about to go down the rabbit hole in a minute. We're going to see, and you guys are going to see, how the Woke Brigade operates, how Dr. Feelgood is an agent to the things that many men are talking about, and how they take guys in these spaces and try to truncate them and make them seem like they are also more or less enemy of women or misogynistic. Because see, they'll call you a misogynist quick, but you never hear them talking about misandry. You don't hear them talk about that because they're not going to talk about it, because he understands his biggest audience are women. The women are going to support him. And that's why, guys, it's so important for you guys to support male content, because male content is being suppressed, in my opinion. So we're going to get deep into it, guys. Let's go down the rabbit hole, and we're going to blow this thing up in a minute. Hold tight. All right, so down the rabbit hole. Let's do it.
Down the rabbit hole we go. This is the part of the show where we assess, examine, collaborate.
All right, so what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to pull up this information on Rollo Tomassi, and we're going to break this thing down.
On an all new
This is
Dr.
fair
Phil.
news. Hold tight. Right. Guys, if you're getting the notifications, I need you to hit 1. If you guys are getting notifications, I need you guys to hit 1 if you're getting notifications. If you're getting notifications, hit 1, please. Hit 1 if you're getting notifications. Don't know if you guys are getting them, but hit 1 if you're getting notifications, please. And once again, guys, share the stream and donate to the channel. And we're going to get deep into it, guys. Hit 1 if you're getting notifications. Please hit 1 if you are getting notifications. I don't even know. This is weird. All right. What this is about.
Good morning. Well, recently, people across America were Googling, who is Andrew Tate? Now, who here has heard of Andrew Tate? Really? I never heard of him. Now, one mother, Darcy, tweeted, I didn't know who Andrew Tate was, but my 12-year-old son did. So parents, they're coming for your boys. They market misogyny and racism. And when I say they, there's a broad range of people out there, and they're not all the same.
And see, guys, this is what guys like Dr. Simp does, Dr. Feelgood does. He doesn't have a visceral understanding of men because, once again, Dr. Phil does what his wife say. Robin's already said that, more or less implied that she's smart or smarter than him. And of course, men like him, you tend to see this sadly with a lot of white men. A lot of white men more or less placate to this kind of behavior. A lot of white men, guys, placate to this behavior. And Dr. Simp is a primary agent. Thank you, Mulatto, Vanguard, Indigo Flow. Thank you, guys. But they placate the behavior like this because you got to understand, guys, this liberal stuff that more or less was erected by white women in their own ilk. It had nothing to do with black men and black women because black men and black women never historically had power. But sadly, black women, they jumped into the fray of liberalism and dogma, and they asserted the position that they will oppress black men. They took, how can we say it? They took, what's the word? They took domestic issues that were endemic to all ethnic groups, and then they said that, because of that, black men oppressed it, but black men never had power to oppress at the policy-making level. We never had power to do it. So how can we oppress? And so they joined the fray with these liberal white women, and now all of a sudden, what once was a decent unison or a decent unity, our women became compromised because they believed the lie of some of these white liberals. And now because of that, the black family and the black community is more fragmented than it's ever been before. Many times, guys, they have used our talking points and used the struggle of our ancestors to push their own agendas. And that's why I told you guys, you got to have an independent mindset. You got to think independently. Because Dr. Feelgood, he's paid by the woke brigade. So Dr. Feelgood got to do what he's told. He got to follow Robin's lead. And you don't never want to be in a position where you're in these partnerships, because I don't believe in partnerships. I believe in husband and wife. I believe in a situation where your wife can give input, your wife can do certain things, and also as a man, you can delegate those things, but your wife primarily is supporting your mission as a husband in that family, based on the theological position. But sadly, guys, we don't have that in this day and age now because so many men don't know what their place is, and many don't know their worth as men. So once again, guys, donate to the channel, hit the like button, and share the stream, and we're going to get back into it. Thank you, guys, to the 26 that are watching. Thank you.
So I don't want to lump everybody together. Tate claims to be helping young men acquire lots of money, drive luxury cars, and pick up hot women. but last August he was banned on social media for his misogynistic viewpoints, some of which I can't repeat on daytime television. And then just last month, Tate and his brother were detained by Romanian authorities in connection with a...
Once again, guys, the woke brigade, they are antithetical to free thought and free speech. And that's why, as black men, guys, we should be highly offended. We should be highly offended by anything, any man, any situation that minimizes the voice of reason. And the Irrational Male was a voice of reason. But see, there was a time, guys, our ancestors were silenced. Our ancestors who were slaves, they were silenced. Because, the racism impacted on black men in the past was based on a type of pre-antebellum wokeness. And if you spoke out against the establishment, then you could lose your life, especially black men. So when black men or black women align themselves with these liberal ideologues, it minimizes the importance of our ancestors. Because consistent with the African worldview, our ancestors never agreed with many of the things that we're agreeing with now. Some of the same mess, if you take it abroad in Africa, they don't believe in that foolishness. But we tend to align ourselves with this wokeness and this culture of Marxism, and we wonder why we're going to do what we're going to do now. And it appears it could be getting guys worse and worse and worse. Hit the like button, guys. Donate to the stream, please. We're going to get deep into it.
Human trafficking, rape, and organized crime investigation.
If you give a man true free reign, completely be who you want to be, and you don't let society program you, he's going to drive a fast car, he's going to have a bunch of women, he's going to want to have a bunch of money, he's going to do whatever he wants, right? Whether a woman wants to be a lawyer or a housemaker or a webcam girl. Unless she has a man directing her, she's up. They're just not built to be completely independent creatures. Men and women are not the same. We've never been the same. This new think idea that men and women are the same is complete garbage that's been invented, right? If a woman sleeps with multiple people, that's cheating. That's absolutely unacceptable on every level. If I have a woman who I truly love, and I go out and I come back to her, and I don't care about her, and I only love my girl, that's not cheating. That's exercise. If she even talks to a dude, it's cheating. Because females are emotionally invested. I have no emotional investment.
And some people have a problem with what Andrew Tate said. Perhaps his words could have been more or less nuanced, but I understand what he's saying. Now, ideally, cheating don't always encapsulate that, but I do understand where he's coming from. Because we're not the same. This is a construct that was created, sadly. We are not the same. We never were the same. We are the same as human beings. Yes, men and women are the same in our humanity, but we're not the same in role and design. And a lot of this stuff, guys, is nothing but cultural Marxism. Because what women don't understand is this. Men are not wired to have the thought of multiple men entering their woman. We're not wired for it. And they think that they can do certain things, and they can. But men by nature don't want to. We can't accept it because we're not wired for it. And so I understand what Andrew Tate is saying in part. He needed to more or less nuance it more, but I understand what the dude is saying.
Oh, okay. Some of the women here, I think, might disagree with that a little bit. Moms out there, if you have a son, I bet you have no idea what is happening out there, so you might want to pull up a chair and listen. Our first guest, 24-year-old Ben, says when...
And see, the problem with Dr. Feelgood is a radical liberal. And the problem with Dr. Feelgood, guys, is this. Dr. Feelgood don't understand that the response to why men are doing the things that they're doing is because of bad behavior of modern women. But Dr. Feelgood would never do a bad show or do a show about modern women because he knows he would lose half of his audience. But I'll say all this because I said this to say that to say this. The current world that we're living in is changing and more or less changing radically. And you can't be worried about some of the nuances of what you see in this current world. Because everything you earn, you ain't going to take it with you in the afterlife. So why not do the right thing and be a man of resolve and be a man of conviction? Because men like this, they compromise their soul to appease a certain audience instead of standing firm in their convictions as men. They take a man like Andrew Tate, paint him like a monster. Not saying everything Andrew Tate says is correct. And they make Andrew Tate the poster child for all and everything associated with masculinity and masculine men. And that's a problem. So once again, guys, donate to the channel and hit the like button. Actually, the robot just told me, guys, he said, tell them to hit the like button. Hold tight. Because the robot just told me these bills got to get paid. And the robot say, get the likes. And see, Dr. Feelgood, guys, Dr. Feelgood don't understand why men are feeling the way they're feeling. They don't understand that men are checking out because there's irrehensible behavior of so many of these modern dots, guys. They don't understand it. And but they wonder why men like Andrew Tate and other men that are more or less still on line 100% with Andrew Tate are feeling the way that they are. I'm going to show you guys something real quick, guys. I'm going to show you guys something. And it's going to make a lot of sense. Someone just sent me this. And I'm going to share the screen so you guys can see it. But Dr. Phil wonders why men are feeling the way they're feeling. This is Christine Rock, a pregnant woman, thotting it up, guys. She thotting it up. Thotting it up, pregnant, got a baby in her stomach. But this kind of toxic mess makes him wonder why men are feeling the way that they're feeling, especially black men. And while I respect white men too, my mission is for the empowerment of black men. Look at this foolishness. This woman is pregnant. Look at it. Look at this foolishness, guys. Look at this dusty black woman. Look how dusty she is. Got a whole baby in her stomach. But look at some of the comments. Look at some of these ignorant women. Shout out to the Irrational sisters that got sense. This woman said, not only is dancing healthy for pregnancy, it helps with labor and delivery, increases blood flow, reduces blood pressure, improves muscle tone, and help with excessive weight gain. Many doctors even recommend Zumba, which has a lot of kind of movement and incorporates twerk. The baby would like to be born happy because their mom is in good spirits. So ignorant, not understanding that there's a time and place for all things. You don't denigrate yourself being the mother of a child on stage with your belly pregnant. But you gotta understand, guys, you know, they don't hold them accountable. Never held accountable. Never held accountable. Look at the comments. That's why I said, guys, they don't think logically, they think through the lens of their feelings, the majority of them. Shout out to the sisters that think logical. I love how everyone is coming through for her. Look at God. These fools said, look at God. Look at God, protect her and the baby. So God got something to do with her being a thought. God got something, guys, with her being a thought. This woman is starting it up, man. But they said, look at God. And this is mental illness, guys. Because it's predicated in delusion. Look at what this woman said. She said that Blueface mad because he know Krishan gonna help them up with that child support soon, and that other black man and that other black man is just a pick me. But this is what you men gotta choose from here in modern America. Your sons gotta choose from this trash. If I was a single man in America, I would not look at the typical American woman, white or black, because they offer nothing. Shout out to this logical sister. She got some sense. J Jackson 3. She said, absolutely gross. The encouragement for this shows me two things. There's a lot of lost souls, and I'm old because I don't understand the current generation. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sister. This sister gets it, and that's why I said there are some sisters that get it. But the new generation, the Alpha Z and the millennials, some of them, and some of these Gen Xers too, they don't have no decorum. See, I don't identify with this foolishness because I'm from a different generation. I'm from Gen X. And it's foolish. Look at this thought. I love this. I don't care. I don't care. This person says something about glorifying the pregnant women Turkey. It just don't sit right. So some people get it. It ain't everybody. So if she was stepping, that would be fine. It's a bit harsh and judgmental. But they judge people all the time themselves. That's why I hate it when people say don't judge, because we all judge, and you should judge. Shout out to the good sister that said, no, this is not classy. And it's not classy. But unfortunately, guys, this is the females, many females in the black community. Let me tell you guys something. When I grew up in Gen X, I'm old school Gen X. Behavior like this was not the norm. It was only a small percentage, and it was still shameful. But now thought behavior is the norm, and righteous behavior is abnormal. Thought behavior is the norm now, and righteous behavior is the abnormal, guys. And my heart goes out to some of you men because you don't have anything of substance to choose from. You don't have nothing to choose from. You know, you don't have nothing to choose from because many of these current women, guys, sadly, guys, are in a state of ill repair. They're in a state of ill repair, and it's crazy to say the least. That's why I tell you guys to love yourself and do what's best for yourself. Do what's best for yourself, guys. Shout out to my man supporting men. Shout out to our man supporting men. Thank you, guys. But it's crazy, to say the least, guys.
Together.
You're a sexual energy coach.
Yes.
Help me with that. What
is a man who builds valuable.
I have no emotional investment.
Was a teen, he had zero self-esteem, never got past the first date, and felt powerless with girls. But he says men like Andrew Tate inspired him to break out of his shell.
A woman's primary biological role is to make kids. So the more fertile she is, the prettier she is, the more feminine sexual energy she has. But for men, our primary biological...
And guys, that's why I did a show called Black Love Without Consent. And I call it Black Love Without Consent because many have not asked the black man what he wants in a woman. There was a time, guys, that women strive to understand what their man wanted in a relationship. They were more concerned about getting a good man instead of not getting a good man. So they would ask that man, what he wanted. But see, many modern women don't care about what men want. They only care about what they want. And they don't think there's a consequence for bad behavior. And that's a problem. And that's a serious problem. Shout out to my man, a man supporting men, for the $2 super sticker. Thank you, brother. I appreciate a man supporting men. And brother, you're the #1 sponsor of the stream.
Hello,
and that's a deal, right? Thank you, a man supporting men. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Talking to kid, a dynamite! Pure dynamite!
Logical purpose is to build things. A high status, high value man is a man who builds valuable things. That's where his masculine sexual energy comes from. So a man's going to judge a woman first and foremost by how fertile she is. That's why men care about a woman being soft. Men care about a woman being pure and healthy. And
this is what the man said. He's correct about being pure and healthy, because men are the buyers and women are the sellers. But you got a lot of women selling men subpar behavior. They're not selling them virginity. They're not selling them anything that's chaste. But you got women that say, well, you got to make 6 figures. You got to make a certain amount of money. But you're not selling that man anything of quality. You're not selling that man anything of virtue. But see, Dr. Feelgood, he doesn't challenge the modern woman, because Dr. Feelgood is a simp. Dr. Feelgood supplements irrational male patterns of behavior. Dr. Feelgood doesn't understand how female nature works, because he does what his wife tells him to do. Because anytime, guys, you get a woman that say, I want you, but I don't need you, run. You should want a woman that wants you and needs you, not just want you, but don't need you. Because all human beings need mankind. I need mankind. And I need and respect a woman. But this is what liberalism and all this woke foolishness has done. It's made people not understand the importance and worth of family and relationships. There was a time the black woman in America was the greatest woman in the world. She was conservative. She was respectful. She was God-fearing. But we don't have that anymore. And we wonder why we have conversations about the irrational male. You wonder why books written by Rollo, Tomassi, in these spaces are growing. Because they want to suppress the consciousness of black men. They don't want you to have your standards high and say what you want as men. And that's why, guys, you got to challenge the talking points. You got to challenge the talking points, and you got to demand more instead of more or less being pigeonholed into some of this foolishness.
Nurturing, good at cooking, cleaning, and all that jazz, while women care about a man's status and a man's value, because that shows how good he is at building things, how good he is at taking care of his body and being strong enough to protect her and her children. It's not unfair that men care more about looks than women do. It's just how nature designs.
And you notice, guys, anytime men say what they want, it's a problem, because men do care about looks. Men care more about looks. We care about beauty, youthfulness, and chastity. And also we care about women that are feminine. But we don't talk about the compliments of male symmetry. Because anytime men say something, it's the big bad men. This is the reason this world is so messed up.
Wow. So you understand women?
Yeah.
How do you understand women so well?
Oh, just life experience. I've put myself out there a lot and had my fair share of learning. I've read a lot and experienced a lot of different perspectives and did my best to put them all together.
You're a sexual energy coach.
Yes.
Help me with that. What is a sexual energy coach?
So I help men with their mindsets, getting in touch with their masculinity, figuring out their goals and what sorts of action steps they can take to make those goals real when it comes to dating and relationships.
But you don't have a girlfriend?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. So you're telling other people how to get girlfriends and you don't have one?
Well, I teach them how to get in touch with their masculinity.
Okay.
And so My clients have found girlfriends because of me.
Okay. And how do you define masculinity?
Integrity under pressure.
And you were saying that women want a man that what?
They want a man who knows what he values, a man who's good at building something, a man who's multidimensional and integrated, who can be masculine, but is also emotionally aware, intelligent, and fearless when it comes to achieving his goals.
Are you an Andrew Tate adherent?
I'm not a dogmatist by any means, but I do think that he's serving a valuable role. I think that he's making a positive difference, and he does say a lot of controversial things because he's an extreme person. Like, he's not your normal average guy.
I wrote down some of the things that he said. Some of them I absolutely cannot repeat. But he says, I think my sister is her husband's property. Would you agree with that line of thinking?
Not in the literal sense, no.
Well, what people don't understand, guys, in some Islamic cultures, it's so convoluted because in the past, the word husband, especially in the old times with shiver and all, I'm not saying this, but she was seeing this the property of her man. And the man's job was to die for his woman. If he had to, it was a fair exchange. She belonged to him, and it's consistent with scripture. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. So if the scripture says she's bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, it doesn't mean she doesn't have autonomy, but she belongs to him. But this is the kind of world that we live in now, guys. And it's crazy to say the least. That's why I tell you guys, man, focus on yourselves. Don't deal with most modern women if you're a traditional man, because it won't work.
Well, I understand. He doesn't have.
Yeah, well, I mean,
he doesn't own her.
Women are obviously people, not objects, but it's one way of looking at things, misogynistic as that might be.
He describes a sexual encounter and says that's how it goes. Slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex. That's how it should be.
Well, if it's consensual, then it's all good.
Okay. He says, I'm not a blanking rapist, but I like the idea of being able to do what I want. And I don't believe women are as smart as men.
Well, that sounds really misogynistic.
Do you agree with that? You said the more muscle I put on, the more affordable, attractive, healthy girls will be available to you. How does that work?
The feminine women are attracted to masculine men.
Guys, share the stream, please. Donate to the channel. Shout out to men supporting men for the $2. I appreciate it, brother. But guys, share the stream and donate to the channel. And do you guys think Andrew Tate is a misogynist? And if he is a misogynist, tell me why. Or do you think Andrew Tate is a reflection of men from the past? A maverick? A masculine man? Is he extreme?
Really?
Yeah.
And later, I have a question about what y'all are going back and forth about. So what? What the hell difference does it make? What's that have to do with equality? He says, I'm not a blanking rapist, but I like the idea of being able to do what I want. And I don't believe women are as smart as men.
Well, that sounds really misogynistic.
Do you agree with that?
Not entirely, no. We might not have the same biological roles, but I think women are really smart overall.
Yeah. Do you think there is a pecking order in a relationship?
I wouldn't say a pecking order. I would say that men bring certain strengths, women bring other strengths.
Mm-hmm. You say boys will be boys. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, and what's it mean?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, for boys to be boys, explore the masculinity, find ways to meaningfully challenge themselves and grow.
Yeah. You said when you...
That's why, guys, when you go on shows by Dr. Feelgood, it becomes a problem because it's going to always be under the veneer of wokeness. It's going to always be under the veneer of wokeness. Shout out to my man, McDowell's Human Resources Department. He said, Dr. Phil is plain stupid. He knows exactly what the gentleman was saying about masculinity. He needs to get out of 1945. No doubt, man.
Hello,
and you're a dynamite. I appreciate it.
You got the number right, because you are talking to kid a dynamite. You're dynamite.
You were younger, you were an aimless loser.
I was kind of a coward. And
yeah,
when I was in high school, I decided that I'm going to get to decide who I get to be in life. So I decided I'm going to be a strong, masculine guy. And so I got into lifting weights, I got into self-development, and eventually I put myself out there in the dating world a lot, and I learned a lot and grew a lot. And I would say I'm a pretty strong, confident guy now.
You said the more muscle I put on, the more affordable, attractive, healthy girls will be available to you. How does that work?
Well, because the more muscle you have on your body, the more testosterone your body produces to make.
Shout out to my man Suave for the 10. Shout out to my man Suave. He said, keep up the great work. I appreciate it, Suave. And Suave, you are the #1 sponsor of this stream. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, Suave. He's the #1 sponsor of this stream. Thank you, sir. Guys, you got a comment you would like for me to read, donate to the channel and I'll read it. Thank you.
Maintain it. And working out, it raises your testosterone and it masculinizes you. And feminine women are attracted to masculine men.
Really?
Yeah.
You talked about the greatest harm to men right now. You said,
and this fool said, really. But see, Robin, once again, guys, Robin controls Dr. Feelgood. Robin controls Dr. Feelgood. She controls him. Because, and a lot of men are controlled by their wives in modern marriages. They do what their wives tell them to do. Happy wife, happy life. But anytime a woman, imagine if a man say that women know best and men are smarter than women, inferring that women are smarter. But the woman can get up and say the sentiments of Robin that she's smarter than her husband, but he can't say it based on this BS that men oppress women, where black men never had the power to oppress nobody. But once again, Dr. Feelgood does what his wife tells him to do. And that's a problem.
There's a lack of positive masculine role models, and that Andrew Tate is stepping in to fill that role.
Exactly.
And there is a lack of masculine role models. We are all under the suppression of this liberalism. The stuff that men tolerate, the stuff these young men have to go through now, it will hurt me if I had a boy trying to raise a boy in this crazy culture. Because they don't respect and honor masculinity, sadly.
Okay, and you think in a positive way. And the greatest harm for women, you said, teaching women to not value the right things, to go for men that are soft and not masculine.
It's part of the picture. So I'm far from the only guy who...
And let me tell you something, guys. When you go on these shows, you got to stand firm. Because Dr. Phil scripts this stuff, and he's going to try to script and show the Phil narrative. So when you go on these shows, you got to stand firm in your convictions. You got to look him straight in the eye and say, I believe that. Yes, I believe that. And then you got to tell him, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to truncate what I'm trying to say to fit your liberal agenda. You got to hit them hard, straight in their mouths. Because what they're trying to do, they're trying to paint a picture that you're a misogynist. And they're being highly disingenuous.
Mother Darcy tweeted, I didn't know who Andrew Tate was, but my 12-year-old son did.
Pretty strong, confident guy now.
You said the more muscle I put on, the more affordable, attractive, healthy girls will be available to you. How does that work?
Well, because the more muscle you have on your body, the more testosterone your body produces to maintain it. And working out, it raises your testosterone and it masculinizes you. And feminine women are attracted to masculine men.
Really?
Yeah.
You talked about the greatest harm to men right now. You said there's a lack of positive masculine role models, and that Andrew Tate is stepping in to fill that role.
Exactly.
Okay. And you think in a positive way. And the greatest harm for women, you said teaching women to not value the right things, to go for men that are soft and not masculine.
It's part of the picture. So I'm far from the only guy who's ever felt like no one ever taught him how to be a man growing up. And so I've had my mentors, I've had my learning experiences, and there's no like one guy who I look up to. It's a bunch of men I've known who've taught me what I could be, what I could become. And Andrew.
And one of the biggest issues, guys, one of the biggest indictments that you see in modern times, it's a lack of finding strong men, strong families, and having men being supported by other men. You don't see it a lot, sadly. These boys are looking for leadership, but they haven't seen it, they don't see it, and that's why so many are frustrated.
Tate is not nearly one of the most important ones, but I do see the value he's adding. Like, there are a lot of young men, boys out there, who maybe their father's not in their life, they've had a weak father, they haven't had many positive male role models growing up, and to them...
And I saw guys firsthand all the time with the lack of positive male role models. A lot of these boys need positive male role models. I saw all the time firsthand. A lot of these boys need positive role models to help them circumnavigate through this maze where masculinity is not only attacked, but being minimized.
They're seeing Andrew Tate as an aspirational figure. Like, they don't have to, aspire to be 100% like him. They don't have to have the same goals, take the same action he's taking. But he's one guy of many who's showing them that they could be more than just some coward, more than just some weak guy who doesn't know how to stand up for himself, doesn't know how to stand up for what he believes in.
Yeah, you said that women are not guided by love, they're being guided by an evil agenda.
Well, there's been a lot of programming out there that's taught men and women to hate each other instead of love each other in the past decade especially. And so there's a lot of messages in the media, in society, that's making men afraid of women and making women afraid of men instead of loving each other, instead of leaning into our natural roles and our personalities.
And what's the evil part?
Evil part? Well, anything that promotes hatred, anything that promotes division on whatever part of the political, ideological spectrum it is. So anything that's teaching you to hate someone else or look down on someone else for any reason.
Yeah. So do you have women friends?
Oh, yeah. I have some female friends who I value.
Yeah. Do you hope to get married someday?
Oh, yeah, eventually. Yeah, it's not a very pressing goal of mine right now. I have a lot of other things I'm focusing on, but down the line, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, when we come back, should we be worried about something called the manosphere and our sons? Well, I'm going to ask the godfather of the manosphere because he's here, and he's going to tell us what that's all about.
And see, it goes back to what Dr. Wim Glasser said. He said needs drive behaviors. The 5 principles of that, guys, is this: power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. Power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. Power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. Men are looking for power, they're looking for fun, they're looking for freedom, and they're looking for survival. But watch him try to paint the manosphere as something negative. Now understand that men in these spaces come from different backgrounds and have different ideologies. Watch, listen, and watch.
And you can decide if you think it's something you should be worried about. And I want to hear from the audience. We'll be right back.
What do I tell that chick who's 26 years old, who's probably making more money than most of the guys I know? She's an alpha male, right? What do I tell her? Dumb yourself down?
A lot of the work that I've done really for about 20 years right now gets distorted quite a bit to the point where I've got to come on the Dr. Phil show and be an apologist for Andrew Tate, which I am not going to do.
So why do they call you the godfather of the manosphere?
He's the godfather primarily of the white manosphere, but he's not necessarily of the black manosphere. Tommy Sotomayor did a lot of work for these spaces in the past. Angry Man called it the manosphere. Obsidian played a major role, and then O'Shea at one point when he was in it. But we're not talking about that as much as we're talking about men talking about male issues and how the media tried to minimize the importance of male issues.
When you're 30, you can still land a pretty 22-year-old girlfriend, but a woman at 30, she might be beautiful, she might be sexy, but she is past her prime. And both sexes viscerally know this. A regular gal at 25, her sexual value, her sexual abundance is starting to go. Have some empathy for women. They go through worse problems than you do in the dating world.
You think 25 is, they're kind of going over the hump?
Well, it's one way to look at things, because nature's designed us to build things. It's designed women to carry children, carry healthy children. And so young women are more fertile. Like, that's not the entire picture of a woman's value, but biologically, younger women are just what men go for.
Okay. Rollo Tomassi is a blogger, author, and YouTuber whose 2013 book, The Rational Male, has come to be considered the unofficial Bible of the manosphere. Now, he says everything that you hear from Andrew Tate is usually a derivative of his book and his teachings.
We have women who are building themselves up according to this strong, independent, female empowerment narrative. And as a result, all they've done is become the man that they wanted to marry. And guys don't want to have anything to do with that. So what do I tell them? What do I tell that chick who's 26 years old, who's probably making more money than most of the guys I know? She's an alpha male, right? What do I tell her? Dumb yourself down? The first thing out of my mouth is, well, you need to be more feminine. Right? Get in touch with your feminine side. You've got to invest in your beauty, invest in your femininity, rather than, being worried about like starting some gourmet cupcake.
And that's the problem, so many lose out in their younger years, but striving to get the outcomes that they want, guys. So many miss out on decent quality guys because they have been lied to and they have been blinded by the masses when it comes down to more or less using your younger years, if family is important, to focus on family. Now listen, if family is not an issue of yours, a priority, stay out here, do what you want to do. But if family is important, then you need to focus on family.
Retail outlet. Because if I don't, then I'm not feminine, and then they're not going to want to get with me. Oh, well, you mean I'm going to be 38 and lonely? I guess I'll die alone? Yeah, unless you do something. And if that sounds like dumbing yourself down, then I don't really know what else to tell you.
Bro, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, your book and the things that you espouse predated Andrew Tate.
Yeah. By about 10 years. All I do is present facts. And what happened.
And guys, I bought the book called Irrational Male. I haven't read it yet, but I bought it years ago. Never read it. But Andrew Tate came up with terms or played a role and come up with some of the phraseologies like hypergamy. And the modern woman, guys, is practicing hypergamy. And if you men are not careful, there's a concept called ego syntonia and ego dystonia. Ego dystonia happens when men think, or ego syntonia happens when a man is feeling the pain of what's going on in his life and it causes him to break down in a negative way.
Sir, it's okay to feel the way that you feel. Tired, frustrated, angry, sad, misunderstood, emasculated, trauma-induced. Are you dealing with these issues? If so, book a session.
And some of you guys need to book a session and see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com, because some of these men are dealing with egocentria. And that basically means they don't like the way they feel. They don't like the way that they feel.
Is particularly now, and I've been doing this for about 20 years, you will see a lot of come-ups right now who want to take it and run with it on TikTok. They want to take it and run with it on Instagram. We live in the social media age.
Ego dystonia. I'm sorry, I got
the work that I've done really for about 20 years right now.
So let me rephrase that. A syntonic ego likes the way they feel, so that's delusional. But a dystonic ego doesn't like the way that it feels. So so that's the difference. One is syntonic, one is dystonic.
Now, gets distorted quite a bit. And I think we're at that point right now where things are getting distorted. And again, to the point where I've got to come on the Dr. Phil show and be an apologist for Andrew Tate, which I am not going to do.
Yeah. So why do they call you the godfather of the manosphere?
The manosphere is sort of a consortium of guys who get together and they compare notes. So the manosphere proper started right around, I would say 2002 in forums. It developed and evolved out of the old pickup artist seduction community forums that were online at that time. And then it developed into the blog era, and then it developed.
And that's what you got, guys, some call a PUA, pickup artists, dating coaches. But many of these dating coaches and PUAs have outlived their need. And that's why guys are beginning to go other places and more or less minimizing the need to have quote-unquote game, and they're getting passports.
Developed into the social media era, and now here we are in the YouTube era. And it's been, like I said, about 20 years coming right now, but the manosphere proper is a consortium of guys who get together and they compare notes about really three main things.
And comparing notes, guys, is called the universality. See, the kosher clinician does things similar to group therapy. And so universality simply means this. It means men get together and they share ideas, and more or less they share the struggles that they are having. So in group therapy, it's universality and commonality, and it's talking about it's sharing notes based on what they've been through as men.
Money, muscles, and game. So, and by game, I use game in the terms of social skills at this point. So,
and these pickup artist sites that you're talking about, people were putting up websites and all about how to pick up women.
That originally was discussions on forums where men all over the world would get together and say, let's compare notes. Let's compare notes, let's get together, and let's see if we can figure this out.
Well, I've seen a lot of seminars and stuff where you can sign up and take a course, and they guarantee you if you have trouble getting dates or picking up women, they tell you that they guarantee you take this course, you'll date the hottest girl in the room. And
I don't know anyone that is guaranteeing that at this stage. I don't think anybody has ever guaranteed that. However, if there is a benefit, a net benefit for that, it is the fact that you can take a guy, such as Ben here, and level him up from, say...
And that was the biggest argument with pickup artists. They could get the woman, but they couldn't maintain them. Because you still got to have a level of nuance, man. You got to have a level of nuance. You can get them, but can you maintain them? And that's why the PUA movement is beginning to dissipate, because having game is not enough. It got to be some natural attraction too.
A 5 to a 6, is that not an improvement? If you went from being ordinary to being somewhat extraordinary, is that not a net benefit to a gentleman like Ben here?
You say the greatest problem with men is men are purposeless and sedated by pornography, online video games, alcohol, or marijuana.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you mean sedated by?
How old are you? 24.
That's 24.
24 years old. So we're looking at a Gen Z. You're looking at a generation that was acculturated and socialized behind a screen. We have a generation of what we call lost boys right now who don't have a father figure. They don't have any guidance, whether it
He's right. It is a generation of lost boys. My heart goes out to these men. I'm Gen X, old school Gen X, middle Gen X. And my heart goes out to these guys because they like the requisite social skills to have conversations, some of them. And some of these women like the requisite social skills to more or less compliment decent men.
Whether it's masculinity or much else for that matter. And so, of course, if I can say, hey, look, I'm an older gentleman and I can help level you up, and common sense is so rare right now, we can commodify it, then I'm going to go and do my best to help men. I'm not in the business of helping men become better men. I'm in the business of helping men have the tools and the equipment so that they can build their own lives.
You say the greatest problem with men is men are purposeless and sedated by pornography, online video games, alcohol, or marijuana.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you mean sedated by?
They're escapisms is what they are. If your crummy life is, if your escapisms are better than your crummy life, then you're going to dwell more in those escapisms. So what do men do today where they're addicted to pornography? Anyone in this room on their phone can go get hardcore pornography anytime.
And he's correct. AI has greatly modified how men see the world. It's modified how men and women see the world to the point they don't have an identity anymore. This generation of men don't really know how to have good conversations, to say the least, some of them. And it's a problem.
They want to. There's a reason why it's free. If you go and you look at marijuana being legalized, if you look at the opioid epidemic right now, if you look at the way we sedate men today, that is the number one, I think anyways, is the number one problem that we're looking at for really the latter half of the millennial generation and all of Generation Z right now.
Yeah, and you talk about that the suicide rate for men is 3.5 to 5 times,
depending on whose numbers you're looking at and what the demographics are.
Yeah, than it is for women. And you interpret that as meaning what?
I interpret that as meaning that those are deaths of despair. We have a term for that right now. Men get zeroed out. They build up lives, they build up personalities, they build up life equity, let's just say. They lose a job, they lose their wives, they lose out on something, and no one is there to tell them how to bounce back from that rejection, how to bounce back from that defeat, how to come back from being zeroed out. So they're faced with two really very real decisions. One is rebuild yourself or delete yourself. And unfortunately, most men are deleting themselves right now.
And that goes back to a hopeless man is a broken man, and a man that's broken is very dangerous.
Men are deleting themselves. What?
Well, the prime demographic for suicide for men right now is 45 to 65 years old. It's what they call deaths of despair. We constantly harp on the fact that men don't have friends, they don't have close friends, they don't have the same networks that women do. And then we put the blame for their mental health back on them by saying it's toxic masculinity, and if you guys were just more like women, then you would reach out for therapy of some sorts. If women were killing themselves at 4 times the rate that men are, you would have a dedicated month and the NFL would change their uniforms to pink or something else so that we would have some sort of female suicide prevention month. But we don't see that right now because we blame it on toxic masculinity.
What do you mean when you say media celebrates masculinity as equaling acting feminine?
Well, that's the only time that the mainstream media will ever.
And he's correct, but Dr. Simgood act like he's ignorant to what he's talking about. Dr. Simgood knows what he's talking about. And he's right. Anytime masculinity is celebrated, it's celebrated in a weaker, more softer form of masculinity. It's not that blue-collar masculinity we used to have years ago.
Celebrate masculinity is when you see The Rock in a tutu. Whenever you see men behaving conventionally feminine, that's when the media decides to celebrate it. But yet when a guy is acting in a conventionally masculine way, we do not celebrate that, and we find some way to demonize that.
And what's conventional?
And Rollo's correct. Conventional masculinity means this, Dr. Simpgood. This is what it means, Dr. Simpgood. It basically means this. You stand firm in your convictions. You assert yourself. You don't pander. You don't tap dance. Your yay is your yay. Your nay is your nay. You're not a slave to feelings. You're not a slave to emotions. And you call out BS when you need to call it out. But of course, Dr. Simpgood can't do that because he does what Robin tells him to do.
Actually masculine.
Men are, by and large, in a general sense, 99.9% larger, more muscular, more physically adept than women are. So we can look at what are the traits that are associated with that. But, determinism, determination.
How are men more determined than women?
Mentally speaking, if you look at the differences, the genetic differences between men and women, men tend to be more interested in things. Women tend to be more interested in people. Women tend to be...
But see, guys, the world is so crazy now that up is down, down is up, right is wrong, and wrong is right. And that's the world that we live in. The cognitive dissonance is so unreal, to say the least.
In the social fields, men tend to be in the more mechanical fields. So if there's a conventional masculinity, it's related to the way that our brains are structured. It doesn't have anything to do with social constructionism.
Yeah. All right, well, when we come back, we're going to meet a father who says men have been left behind. We'll be right back.
All right, guys, get the likes up, please. Get the likes up. Donate to the channel. We'll end the stream in a minute. Get the likes up and donate to the channel. Thank you.
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
My daughter is addicted to social media.
His teenage son shot him and then killed his mother because they took away the violent video games Daniel was addicted to. That's Monday. Closed captioning provided by...
Have you? I have had opportunities to cheat for pretty much my entire marriage. The healthiest way to have a good marriage is to have opportunity, but she gives you no reason, and so she takes care of you. Now, there's a lot of other guys who are in the same boat, right? They are with a woman who takes care of them, even though they have the opportunity to cheat. Those guys, the women that they're with, realize that that guy is the kind of guy that other men want to be and other women want to be. And so as there's that hindbrain realization of that, prompts behavior on the part of that woman to say, you know what, he's a good dog, but I got to pet him to keep him on the porch.
Well, parents today say they're more worried about their sons becoming successful adults than their daughters. So what's troubling young men today? Now, I brought together some people who presume to know about this.
And that's true because we are not incentivizing our sons at the same rate we're incentivizing our daughters. We're not raising our boys and girls at the same level when it comes down to empowerment, because we continue to be under this old trope that our women are oppressed. Modern men that had nothing to do with what they're crying about oppressed them, and they continue to punish boys for something they never did.
I spent time looking into it. Richard Reeves is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute and wrote the book Of Boys and Men, Why the Modern Male is Struggling, Why It Matters, and What to Do About It. Now, Marilyn York is a men's rights attorney, And Imran Ahmed is the CEO and the founder of the Center for Countering Digital Hate. So thanks to all three of you for joining the conversation. Marilyn, let me start with you. You've been listening so far. What do you have to add to the conversation before I ask you any specific questions?
Anytime a man tries to interpret a woman, it's embarrassing. And anytime we try to interpret a man, it's embarrassing. Like, we need to stay in our lane a little bit more. When I hear a man telling me what I want as a woman, there's just some misconceptions being thrown about as though the generalities are true. And we're missing a huge component of relationships that's a really important one, and that's intimacy. We're talking all about prestige, and relationships have two components at their very base: intimacy and prestige. And every relationship at its core is a mix of the two. Even take the super old rich guy and the super young hot girl, there is a component of intimacy to their relationship that works for them. In addition to the prestige that comes with his success and his monetary gain and her beautiful body and her youth. And so I feel like we're missing it, and we're doing a disservice to both genders. And the other thing is, it always feels like a gender battle. Like, it's always men versus women. And even at home, I cannot talk about this with my own husband. I cannot talk about men's rights with him. I want to kill him in about 30 seconds. And I'm like, I'm on your team. Like, I represent dudes and I hate you. And I'm never extreme enough for him. And he likes to spew facts at me. Like, men are always guilty when the police come. I'm like, what? Who? Have you been arrested? Last time I checked, you've never even been investigated. What do you mean this always happens? He's like, you know it's true. It's a fact. I'm like, oh my God, it's a fact again. And I do know it's true. I actually watch my poor male clients get arrested for ridiculous stuff all day. I can give you 100 case studies that would break your heart. But when he says that, I want to deck him. And why? Why does it have to be that way? Why can't I just calm down and listen and not be in competition? And I can't. I fail, at least at home. I'll try to do better for you, doctor.
Thank you. Yeah. Tell me if you're going to deck me.
And it's important, guys, because men are dying earlier. Men tend to die off earlier than women. And I do understand what this woman's saying about not trying to interpret. I get that to some degree. I agree with her to some degree. You don't want people to try to interpret you. But we would be ignorant not to understand that men more or less tend to get more interpreted than men and women in this current world that we live in.
Women seem lesser. We don't have to make women seem less for men to be more. And that's right. And some of what you say has some real truth to it. There are some biological differences between us, but they're not determinative. They don't determine your role. You say the biological role. Women are designed to bear children. Well, duh. I think most women know that they bear children, but that doesn't mean that that's their destiny. That's an idea we left behind in the 19th century. And so we've got to find a way to have a really positive script for our boys that is different to femininity. I agree with that. There are differences. But it's got to be one that's fit for the 21st century. And I got to tell you, that means one that...
But here's a problem with that. This man tends to aggrandize the role of women in the 21st century, but you still expect men to be traditional. You got to pick and choose and stop seeing women through the lens of victimhood.
Absolutely looks women in the eye as our absolute equals. Even if we're different in some important ways, we are absolutely equal. Our relationships have to be built on that equality. So let's get on with the task.
Very true.
Of a positive script for masculinity that is not anti-women.
Yes. Do you think that's possible?
Imagine if a man said he wanted to hit his wife. The hypocrisy, guys, is unreal.
For the plus-size sleeper, like me, to get the rest and comfort that they need.
So these American-made mattresses offer a hybrid construction featuring up to 1,600 individually wrapped coils, 3 layers of high-density foam, and a thermal gel quilted top, all to ensure a cool and comfortable night's sleep.
Okay, the finished mattress is compressed, rolled into a box, and delivered to you. And it also comes with a 120-day trial period and a 20-year warranty. So you want to crank her up?
I want to. I love doing this. Okay, so 1 extra roll for this gentleman. I promised him I would. Okay. All right, here goes. Lucky number. I have it right here. Oh, you want to tell it?
Huh. So, thanks for being here. All right.
Let's get on with the task of a positive script for masculinity that is not anti-women.
Yes. Do you think that's possible?
No, I think
I don't think men have never been anti-women in the modern. I don't think men are anti-women. This gender war stuff, black men definitely didn't create it. But I don't know what he means a script that's anti-women. But the problem is women want power, and they don't want to flow in the role that they need to flow in. They don't want to flow in their role, man. They want the same power that men have. So it's a matter of power than anything.
Equality is a canard right now.
Equality of outcome or equality of opportunity, but not equality of outcome. Outcomes meaning the consequences that could come from the situation, or having to do the work to get the same things that they want to get.
Equality is defined by what? See, the thing about
equal opportunities.
Okay, equal opportunities.
A female president.
But yet, okay.
Women on college campuses.
Okay, so
equal
those
pay.
are equality of outcome right now,
Right.
not equality of opportunity. We have equality of opportunity. What on this side of the fence, anyways, is advocating for is equality of outcome, and that's the real problem that we're looking at right now. The other part of this is that what is equality defined by? So if I have certain strengths that make me better at a particular task, and you do not, then there's no equality between the two of us, if you can see what I'm saying here.
Okay, this is the right argument. Can I respond?
Sure.
This is the right argument. So you mentioned the difference between men and women in terms of men being a bit more into things and women being a bit more into people.
Yes, I believe you quoted Dr. Pinker in your own book.
Yes, and that's true. But it's not true that all men are into things and all women are into people.
But more are than are not on
so
the
what that
bell curve.
suggests, based on work that I've looked at, is that under conditions of equal opportunities, you wouldn't have 50% of engineers would be women. It would be about...
What this man don't understand is speaking is that women have the same opportunity to be engineers that men have. But they tend to choose professions that are not consistent with that. So what this man is saying doesn't make any sense. He's trying to say that women don't have the opportunities to be engineers. They do have the opportunities. But women many times don't go into those majors. There are some women that go into STEM fields, where construction and all that stuff, but many don't. Because this fool doesn't understand that men and women are not the same. And that's okay. Women are superior in some areas, and men are superior in some areas. Women tend to be more organized. But men tend to be more technical and more mechanical and more logical. But Dr. Simgood or Dr. Feelgood always placates to wokeism instead of placating to what's truthful.
30% of engineers would be women. Right now, it's 15%. Now, you might say, well, of course only 15% of engineers are women. Their brains don't work like that. Whereas I would say, I think we've got quite a long way to go.
I have a question about what y'all are going back and forth about. So what? What the hell difference does it make? What's that have to do with equality? The fact that if men are more into...
Right. And what this fool don't understand is that American women have more rights than any other woman in the world. Women in other countries don't have the rights that American women have. But it's like it's never enough. And we keep hammering and pressing these young boys down. You see them keep making these boys pay for something they never had the power to control, or these boys never had power over in the first place. You keep pressing and suppressing these boys in masculinity. But then you wonder where are all the good men and why our boys are so behind. Because we don't build our boys, because we build our women off a platform of victimhood. But Dr. Simgood, he don't understand that.
Things and women are more into... What different? So what does that have to do with equality? Because look, I've been married 46 years. I've been with my wife for 50 years. We've been married 46, and we are not alike in so many ways. But let me tell you, I don't want to be married to me. I guarantee you.
I think we can all agree.
Yeah, no
That's unanimity on that.
No, I don't want to be married to someone that thinks like I do, acts like I do, behaves like I do. I don't want to be married to a mirror image of myself.
But I think
I want to be married to somebody that is different, but that doesn't mean that one of us is more or less than the other person. We just bring different ingredients to the table.
All I'm arguing is these are differences on average, and they're going to differ in different places.
Richard's talking about
but we are complements
equality
to one
when it comes to opportunity, which I agree with. And Rollo's talking about equality when it comes to outcomes, which he says, we can't predict and we can't create. But I think Rollo wants it for men. I think you want outcomes for men to improve. You just aren't worried about the female outcomes.
Okay, what I would like to see is especially for men, is a focus on it, for a focus on masculinity to begin with at all. Because we can't even have this conversation. Right. We could not have this conversation at a major university in the United States right now without.
And Rollo is right. You can't have that conversation because it's on the veneer of wokeness. It's always men are bad, men did things wrong, men oppress. But yet, once again, you got a vice president. Women have had more rights, are getting more rights than they ever have had in human history. And it's never enough. It's never enough. Men are always told how bad they are. They are emasculated. And that's why I tell men don't deal with most women in the West, because it's a headache. Because they want partnerships, but they don't want those partnerships when it comes down to doing things they don't want to do.
Somebody shouting.
Hang on. Let me interrupt because I want you guys to know who Imran is. He was instrumental in taking Tate down from YouTube.
Thank you.
Why was that important to you?
Because the ideas that he spread are toxic to the young men that he's primarily being fed into. The TikTok algorithm is set up in a way that it feeds you the most controversial content first. Andrew Tate himself understands the algorithm in the way that digital natives do. Within 2.5 minutes of opening a new TikTok account, you're being fed Andrew Tate videos. Right. And that's why he's one of the most seen men in the world, talking about men. And the problem is that the ideology that he, of course, is based on yours, Rollo, which is, one way of looking at the world. I don't think it necessarily leads to great outcomes for people. I don't think it leads to great outcomes for relationships.
Oh my God!
The problem is that your ideology is phenomenally reductive, and ultimately it leads to failure.
And yet I've been responsible for taking the noose off of millions of men's necks.
And those ideas,
for the last 12 years.
Those ideas, when amplified, when added with the social media overlay of controversy, it's led to lots and lots of young men being taught by Andrew Tate that the way to treat a woman if she disrespects you is to grab her by the neck and grab a machete.
Again, I'm not here to be an apologist for someone who has taken my work and distorted it into his red meat social media empire.
What do you mean you took the noose off of men? What do you mean?
Yeah, because men are violent. We have a proclivity for violence. We have better trait aggression than we do agreeable.
You claim to have this great compassion for young men who you say are harming themselves, and yet when I say to you that the thing that's killing young women is men, you sneer with such anger at me, and you say to me,
"Do you know what
men are being killed
number one way of men?
So men are killing men, and men are killing women too.
It's not suicide; it's a male-on-male violence as well."
We've got some audience members listening to all this, and I see some of you really squirming. If you got a comment or question, raise your hand right now.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and I was just thinking.
And sure, they're going to squirm, guys, because they've been indoctrinated. Yes, they're going to squirm. They're going to squirm because they've been indoctrinated. That's what universities do. It indoctrinates you.
How you were saying that, women are more likely to be this way and men are more likely to be this way. But a lot of it is we are raised to be that way, and without even having a choice. So I don't understand where you're coming from with that.
Okay, that's because you believe in social constructionism as a primary way of socializing human beings right now. You have natural proclivities as a woman, as a man, that are going to express themselves regardless of societies across the board. It's not all socialization, if anything. The nature versus nurture discussion in that debate has been over since the mid-2000s.
Nothing is all or nothing.
Right.
is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is that you have innate proclivities as a woman, as a man, that are going to express themselves. So again, as I was saying, in gender neutral societies, men are going to lean one way, women are going to lean another way. It's not because they were taught that way. It's because that's what their natural innate inclination is.
All right, we're out of time for today, but we'll be continuing this conversation. You won't want to miss our next discussion on this topic when we talk to a group of teenage boys and their mothers about Andrew Tate and toxic masculinity. Their mothers were surprised by what
and once again, they take the worst, or they take some of the negative comments from Andrew Tate, and when encapsulate it and make it a whole for all men. And you know, that's what makes it so disingenuous, guys. Because it's not based on, or more or less predicated on any type of rationale or reason. We're going to end the stream in a minute, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Donate to the stream if you have not. I've been extremely busy, guys, here lately. Very busy, to the point of exhaustion. But I'm about to get my walk in a minute. But finish listening to this, guys, on the industry.
They heard, and trust me, you will be too.
Andrew Tate has a huge impact on what teenagers think now.
Like, everyone wants to be like him, like rich guy, Bugatti, all that, like rich lifestyle.
He's very positive about how to be successful, go to the gym, get a good mentality.
I'm influenced by Andrew Tate.
I want to thank all of my guests. For more information about today's episode, or if you'd like to share your story, log on to drphil.com. If you want to add your voice to the conversation, you know where to find me on social media platforms. If you're in LA or you plan to be, we'd love to have you join us up here on stage. Just go to drphil.com, click on Be Part of the Audience for all the details. Now, the new season of my podcast, Mystery and...
All right, guys, enough of that. As you guys see, indoctrination is unreal. The indoctrination of our men and our boys and our children, it is unreal, guys. It's unreal. And so that's it. That's been it. That's it for the day. I thank you. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you to the people that donated. Shout out to my man Suave for being the #1 sponsor of the stream. Guys, I told you the male content is very hard. It's hard because the algorithm many times, in my opinion, don't really push male content. Shout out to Coach Greg Adams. You know, he's done a great job. And but in general, male content is not really pushed because it's an agenda, and they want to suppress consciousness. They want to create a whole new type of man that's not consistent with the tradition of our ancestors. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Donate to the channel, share the stream, and I need you guys to understand this: if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right, guys. It ain't right that the woke media and the woke brigade is continuing to do things to suppress heteronormative masculinity. But I commend you guys for listening and turning in, and also knowing what your worth is, and not allowing yourself to be suppressed under this woke agenda. If you guys have been emasculated, go check out my book by Edward Fields IV. And guys, we're tuning off. Thank you for watching.
Have you been distressed or perplexed? Emasculated. A book written by Edward Fields IV. Everything that needs to be known about men in modern time. Listen, men are not complex. They are misunderstood and unappreciated. Learn what men really feel, think, and desire. Also observe their struggle for acceptance, love, and belonging. A must read for every man in this classic book by Edward Fields IV. Emasculated. Go get your copy now.
Fire for your mind. Kosher clinician.
If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. Heaven and hell, that's what they told you. Real men put the strap down and we can toast them. Young heads picking back up and young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. clinician, masculinity issues, asking fathers who miss you, mama drama don't kiss you, all a part of the ritual, this is how they get you, separate the men, women clipping babies pretend to, damn, lovers, haters, acting like vultures, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher, if it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.
Then said he unto me,
Then the Lord said unto me,
Prophesy unto the wind.
Preach unto the wind.
Prophesy, son of man.
Preach, son of man.
And say to the wind.
And say to the wind.
Thus saith the Lord God.
Thus saith the Lord God.
Come from the four winds.
Come from the north, south, east, and west.
O breath.
O breath.
And breathe upon these slain.
And breathe upon these dead bodies.
That they may live.
That they may live.
So I prophesied as he commanded me.
So I preached as the Lord commanded me.
And the breath came into them.
And breath came into them.
And they lived.
And they lived.
And stood up upon their feet.
And they stood upon their feet.
An exceeding great army.
An exceeding great army.
That wind, and preach to the east wind, and preach to the west wind, and tell the wind to blow on these bodies. And the preacher started preaching, said all winds, all four winds, said blow on these bodies that they may live. And when the preacher started preaching, the wind started blowing, and all of those dead bodies, they came alive. The Bible said, and they stood up on their feet, an exceeding great army. But I heard the preacher said to them, you've been here long enough. You've been down in Babylon long enough. You've been dead and dry long enough. You've been separated long enough. Now let's come out of this valley. Let's go back to Zion. I heard them say, follow me. It's time now for a new beginning. Enough is enough. It's time for a new beginning. Come on and follow me. I heard them singing and they started to Jerusalem. We are marching to Zion.